Okay, welcome back, my friends. Another exciting day in Empires and Puzzles. This time around brings us a Covenant portal, and believe it or not, I didn't see this when I first woke up today, but it popped in there, and there comes a brand new hero with it. So let's go ahead and get into it and talk about this new construct that they've offered us. This thing looks like a living construct with all of this nature growing around it, so it should be very interesting to see what they're offering us this time around. To start things out, we will be the Druid class, so you're going to get the chance to make little Thorn minions for some extra survivability. That's kind of fun. Then, a reminder of what the Construct family does. They get the Construct Core. This is basically charged up whenever they're taking damage, and that Construct Core works directly in conjunction with their passive here, the Minion Core. So down here, it says that obviously, as they take damage, it charges, and it says with a fully charged minion core, you get to summon a killer bot minion with 27% HP, 55% attack inherited from the caster. The HP and the attack inherited from the caster are scaled, so they'll only be this strong if they're maxed out. They will be weaker if they haven't taken enough damage to max their core and you cast your special. Before the killer bot minion hits a target, it destroys all minions from the target and damages mega minions. So they are a great way to clear out the opposing side's minions and mega minions. Pretty cool. And then the killer bot minion also recovers 5% health for its owner at the end of each turn. And Wither, each hit from a killer bot minion will give its target negative 50 attack. Now, these last two parts were added relatively recently, so if you go back to any previous character reviews for these constructs, we didn't talk about that because they didn't do that yet, but they do now. So they recover 5% health each turn for their owner, and they will do negative 50 attack on each minion hit. So pretty cool stuff. All right, down here, we also have the Empowered Resist special skill passive. So this character is immune to status ailments that prevent the use of special skills. They also gain 450 boosted health and 5% mana each time they resist. So this does help you with things like silence or paralyze or something to that extent, because those ones would prevent you from using your special skill. Things this won't give you protection against is something like a Mindless. Mindless, although it seems like it stops you from using your special skill, that's not the case. Mindless replaces your special skill with a new effect, and you are still allowed to cast that new effect because you're still casting a special skill. Does that make sense? So don't expect to get protection from Mindless with this guy, but he will save you from silence and paralyze and things of that nature. Okay, so over here in the Aether Power department, we do get damage reduction. Damage reduction is a flat 10% less damage taken for the first 6 turns. That's fine. I mean, it's nothing fancy, but hey, who doesn't like taking less damage? So that's cool. Then down here in our specials department, we get Ancient Technology operating at average speed. It's going to recover 45% health for all allies. And then each defeated ally has a 25% chance to be revived with 40% HP. Each Nature Shield on the board increases the chance to be revived by 5% up to a 65% chance in total. All allies are immune to new status ailments for 4 turns. Okay. Oh, goodness. All right, so this guy's a little bit interesting, right? So we've got a new reviver added to the game. This will now be the strongest reviver available stats-wise. But do we consider him to be more effective? I'll say this. I think he has an incredibly strong chance to revive, assuming there are green tiles on the board. That is a bit of an assumption, though, right? The reality is you are using this guy. You're probably using up tiles on the board. You maybe don't have a ton remaining, especially if you're using this guy in like a green stacked team, then you were probably eating up as much green as possible. So due to the nature of this, I think that this particular character probably makes an ideal off-color addition to your team. In other words, stack a bunch of damagers in a different color, and then let this guy exist solo on an island, so that the only reason you're matching green tiles off of the board is to power this guy's special up. And once you have the special powered up, you stop matching green tiles, ideally, right? So that you can maximize the potential growth of more green tiles so that when you cast this guy, you have a higher % chance to resurrect people. Obviously, this is best utilized on offense because you can then strategically control when you set the special off and make sure that you have the ideal number of green tiles to increase the chance to bring people back. Bringing people back at 40% HP is pretty reasonable. There are definitely resurrects that bring people back lower. but you are still in the kill range of a lot of specials these days. So that being said, I think that's pretty good. Like, I like this guy as a reasonable healer. He's not necessarily designed as a primary healer, like not at 45%. You are going to want something a little bit more juicy to help you deal with fiends this time around, but like, that being said, he's an amazing secondary healer and insurance policy, right? That's what resurrectors really are. They're an insurance policy. It's not helpful when you don't need it, right? If you absolutely annihilate your opponent and there was no need to consider a resurrect, then a resurrector was a waste of your time. But if you do end up having a rough time and lose a couple people, a resurrector has the potential to flip the entire script and get you back in the game. So I guess you can kind of look at it just like car insurance, right? You never need it until you need it. Same concept with a resurrector. So I think, that being said, that this character does do their job well, but again, consider using it as a off color addition to a team, because I feel like if you color stack this guy, you're just going to be rolling through all the green tiles on the board as much as possible, and that is not ideally how this guy functions. Okay, so what else? I didn't cover the fact that this guy also gives the immunity to new status ailments for 4 turns. That's great. That's fine. This is like Dispel, right? But doesn't quite work the same. It's a proactive Dispel. Cleanse. That's what I meant. It's a proactive cleanse. In other words, anything that happened before the effect goes into play, you can't do anything about that. But anything after that for 4 turns can't land. So it does stop dots in its own way, but it has to be done before the dots are cast, not after the dots are cast. So I think that's going to be challenging to operate ideally with this character, because it means you want to get this effect up as soon as possible. However, that might be too soon to utilize the res efficiently, right? So that's unfortunate. I think the only good news that I have about this is that if you do use this guy as resurrection, after he brings them back alive at 40% health, he is going to then give them that debuff protection. So although they are still a juicy target at 40% health, you'll know that they can't have new dot effects stacked on top of them to help kill them. It will need to be focus fire direct damage from either special skills or tiles that helps finish them off. Although, one thing I'm forgetting to mention here, though, is that this character does do the killer bot minions as well. So honestly, okay, so he resurrects them at 40% health. Yes. He gives them the debuff protection. Yes. But then also he is going to give them a minion to hide behind as well. And I think that might be where I'm selling this guy a little bit short. That's an extra possible, what was it, 28% health or something like that? 27% HP. Okay, so so because of that, I mean, theoretically, yes, they were resurrected at 40% health, but they get the debuff protection and a 27% health shield. So in reality, you can functionally think of that more like a 67% health return, which is a lot more reasonable. So, where does that make this character land? I think as a resurrector goes, that adds a little bit of additional potential to him. On a scale of 1 to 10, where I would rate this guy, look, my gut is suggesting he's a solid 8, but with the additional protection given from the minions as well to give you more time to heal these characters back up again, he might just saunter his way into the 9 territory. Like, those extra minion health shields are going to be significant. The problem is you just don't know whether this hero has taken enough damage to have maximized their core. So the reality is that health shield could exist at 3% health. That health shield could be the maximum 27% health. It just depends on where the construct core has been charged to for this hero. So that's why it's hard for me to just outright bump him to a 9, but understand that he's got the potential to be a pretty effective resurrector when you take into consideration the debuff protection as well as the minions that he's giving them to hide behind. So pretty cool stuff. Honestly, if you pull him, congratulations. You should definitely level this guy. I fully expect him to be in lots of teams, especially the teams that like to play the double resurrector game. I think that this guy is going to more or less replace the Astrids that are out there in the field. So I expect to see more of him for that reason alone. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say on this guy. We're going to give him a high 8 to possibly a 9 range. Definitely worth leveling if you do manage to pull him. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We will see you next time.